Next important regional framework is SAARC. SAARC, the preservation and protection of the environment, including disaster risk reduction and management, remain a high priority on the agenda of cooperation being pursued by the member state of SAARC. The numerous directives issued by the SAARC environment ministries provide continued impetus for strengthening and intensifying regional cooperation in dealing with environmental issues. The meeting of the SAARC environment ministers and the technical committee on environment and forestry also provide key mechanism to guide and facilitate the agenda of cooperation. SAARC is collaborating with many regional and international organizations and has signed Memorandum of Understanding with South Asia Cooperative Environmental Program in July 2004, United Nations Environment Program in June 2007, United Nations International Strategy on Disaster Reduction in September 2008, and Asia Disaster Preparedness Center. The MOUs are renewed as may be required. These agencies extend technical and financial support in implementing SAARC program. The next is Convention on Long-Range Transboundary Air Pollution and its Protocol. Convention on Large-Range Transboundary Air Pollution was the first multilateral legally binding treaty on air pollution. It brings together a number of environmental and political concerns. Its success is based on strong science and policy interaction in a flexible and innovative manner, and its implementation is carried out with a minimum of bureaucracy. The convention, headed by strong lead country contribution and stable institutional framework as well as well-recognized secretariat within the United Nations system. The convention was adopted and signed by 34 governments and the European Economic Community in 1979 and entered into force in 1983 when the required 24 ratification has got. Convention, next is Convention for the Protection of the Natural Resources and Environment of South Pacific region. The parties agree to take all appropriate measures to prevent, reduce and control pollution, particularly pollution from vessels, land-based resources, exploration and exploitation of the seabed, airborne pollution, dumping and the testing of nuclear devices. They are to ensure that the implementation of this convention does not result in an increase in pollution in the marine environmental outside the convention area. They also undertake to prohibit the storage of radioactive waste in the convention area and agree to take all appropriate measures to protect and preserve rare ecosystem and endangered flora and fauna as well as their habitat in the conventional area. Next is European Climate Change Program. European Union has long been committed to international effort to tackle climate change and felt the duty to set an example through policy making at home. The first European Climate Change Program was established in 2000 to help identify the most environmentally effective and most cost-effective policy and measure that can be taken at European level to cut greenhouse gas emission. The second European Climate Change Program was started in October 2005 at a major stakeholder conference in Brussels. The second European Climate Change Program has explored further cost-effective options for reducing greenhouse gas emission in synergy with the European Union Lisbon Strategy for increasing economic growth and job creation. Next is Protocol on Oil Pollution Preparedness, Response and Cooperation in the Pacific region. During the Conference of Plenipotentiaries to the NOMIA Convention, the parties have signed 2 new protocols as a new instrument to implement the provision of the agreement on 10th November 2006. The 2 protocols, respectively the Protocol on Oil Pollution Preparedness, Response and Cooperation in the Pacific region and the Protocol on Hazardous and Noxious Substance Pollution, Preparedness, Response and Cooperation in the Pacific region, constitute a new commitment of the countries to take effective regional action for the prevention of the marine pollution from two specific clusters of pollutant. Next, now we are going to discuss the United Nations Environmental Programme support to regional and sub-regional forum. The first, we will discuss the UNEP support to Africa. United Nations Environmental Programme hosts and support the African Ministerial Conference on Environment, which is the principal forum for African ministries of environment to discuss matter of relevance on the environment. UNEP provide technical support and the consultative processes of its Technical Advisory Committee to the African Ministry Council for Water, which is responsible to promote cooperation, security, social and economic development, and poverty eradication of member states through the management of water resources and provision of water supply services. United Nations Environment Programme also host and manage the AMCOW Trust Fund. Now we are going to discuss the UNEP support to Asia and Pacific region. The annual sub-regional environment policy dialogue bring together ministers and eminent civil society representatives from all 5 sub-regions of the Asia-Pacific region. The overall objective of the sub-regional environment policy dialogue include provision of policy advice to GC, GMEF and UNEP regional strategy and possible consolidation of common Asia-Pacific view on an informal basis for global environmental fora. UNEP serve as a secretariat for the annual SEPD and facilitate preparation of background documentation, logical support for liaison with the host government and the documentation of the meeting record recommendation. Now we are going to discuss UNEP support in Europe. The Environment for Europe process is a unique partnership of the member state within the UNECE region, organization of the United Nations system represented in the region, other intergovernmental organization, regional environment center, non-governmental organizations and other major groups. UNEP has been closely associated with the Environment for Europe process since the beginning. UNEP support the follow-up activity to implement the Carpathian Convention that aim at protecting the ecosystem of Carpathian mountain and contributing to sustainable development in the region. UNEP also hosts the interim secretariat and further framework convention for the protection of the marine environment of the Caspian Sea. The objective of this convention is the protection of the Caspian environment from all sources of pollution, including the protection, preservation, restoration and sustainable and rational use of the biological resources of the Caspian Sea. Latest ministerial conference held in Belgrade in October 2007 entrusted particular leading responsibility to UNEP in certain areas such as SCP and biodiversity. Now we are going to discuss UNEP contribution in West Asia. The Council of Arab Ministers responsible for the environment is the regional mechanism to maintain coordination and cooperation among Arab countries in all matters related to environment and sustainable development. Cooperation between UNEP and the League of Arab States was formally established in 1986 with the signing of Memorandum of Understanding through the Arab League Liaison Office in Cairo. UNEP is supporting LAS Technical Secretariat and the Council of Arab Ministries that is responsible for the environment and its bureau. After discussing the meaning and the importance of the regional environment framework and also discussing the role played by the notable environmental framework, we are going to conclude this session by saying this thing that many of today's environmental programs are complex in nature and widespread in extent, cut across national boundaries and also often global in scale regarding their effects. Solutions are needed at the regional level where physical feature of the landscape, biological system and human institution interacts. Regional environment cooperative framework is the key to success in addressing transboundary solution. Notwithstanding the diverse interests countries devote, greater intention for the implementation of shared policies to attain common objective to ensure dignified existence. Now, all the best to all of you for your exams, and if you have any queries regarding this module, feel free to write on the online platform, and I will be very happy to answer your queries. Thank you very much.